This is an Indian story. It is a story of a young woman who came with her 2 sons from the villages of Bihar to join her husband on the outskirts of Delhi. This is the story of Shanti Devi, a story tragically representative of the thousands of women who have lost their lives during pregnancy. Like many daily wage workers, Kishan Mandal, Shanti Devi's husband, barely makes 3,000 rupees or $60 every month. This meager sum has to pay for rent, food, and the children's education. India's economic miracle has never happened for Kishan and his family. For many of the citizens of the world's most populous democracy, this is a grave reality. India may be the second fastest growing economy in the world, with a predicted 8.5% growth for the coming year. But for many Indians, this growth has made no difference at all. For India's women, this divide is deeper still. Despite unparalleled economic growth, more women and girls die from largely preventable pregnancy-related causes in India than anywhere else in the world.
For a middle-income country of its developmental status, of its stature, the number of maternal deaths in India, they are shocking. Even with the new data, they are much higher than Brazil, Egypt, Namibia, China, Sri Lanka. Frankly, the figures in India remain a disgrace.
Shanti Devi was one of these women, denied the fundamental right to life and dignity. Her life could have been saved, but the systems put in place by the government failed her. Her death, and the death of every woman like her, is clearly unacceptable. Through litigation and advocacy, the problem of maternal mortality can be addressed, and the government can be held accountable for these preventable deaths.
Accountability for maternal mortality is an absolute essential. Maternal mortality, as we see it and as has been reaffirmed by the Human Rights Council resolution and resolution at regional levels as well, is not only a global health emergency but is a human rights scandal as well. Women are dying needlessly around the world because of states' failure to provide services, goods and facilities that could save their lives.
And it seems to me that's a breach of the Indian obligation in relation to the right to the highest attainable standard of health. Terrific that women are now increasingly delivering in institutions, but it's unacceptable and a breach of ethical and legal human rights obligations if the facilities once reached are of an insufficient quality and are not properly equipped.
It seems from all our documentation that the providers do not take any responsibility. They merely turn the family away and ask them to, quote unquote, go elsewhere. So the family has no idea where they're supposed to go. They don't have transportation. They probably have no more money left, and the woman is getting worse by the minute. Women who die are often women where families have made enormous efforts to try and seek care. But in the absence of supported referral, not knowing where to go, the woman ends up losing her life.
Therefore, when things go wrong, there should be a remedy provided to women to seek redress for the violations suffered as a consequence of state inaction or omission.
The Human Rights Law Network worked with the Mandals in providing legal aid and support during the case.
The Human Rights Law Network is a biggish network of lawyers and social activists in India. providing free legal services for the poor. We basically fight for the rights of the poor, the constitutional rights of the poor, for the health rights of the poor in the high courts and the Supreme Court of India. And we started our work on reproductive rights recently when we came across case after case of very poor women delivering babies on pavements, on the roadside, under trees. Very close to the public hospitals, we found that they had no place to go really because they couldn't afford to pay even the low fees of the public hospitals. And the most tragic case, of course, was Shanti Devi's case.
In 2008, a pregnant Shanti Devi encountered the government health system for the first time. It left her and her husband traumatized and humiliated.
संजय गांधी अस्पताल में उसे दाखिला करवाने के लिए ले गया। वहाँ दिन भर एक इंजेक्शन देकर के भर दिन बाहर रखा उसे। फिर उसके बाद ये कहा कि भाई यहाँ तो भर्ती नहीं लेंगे। हम लोग बोला क्यों नहीं भर्ती लोगे? तो बोला भैया तो 8,000 रुपया दो या नहीं तो 4 बोतल खून दो।
Shanti Devi had been forced to carry a dead fetus in her womb for 5 days, at grave risk to her health. She was denied emergency obstetric care from 4 different hospitals because she couldn't pay the fees demanded. It almost cost Shanti Devi her life. Refusing to accept such treatment, Shanti's family and community turned to the courts. In December 2008, they filed Lakshmi Mandal versus Deen Dayal Harinagar Hospital and others in the Delhi High Court.
कोर्ट इसलिए भी जा सकते हैं कि आदमी आज हमारे पास ऐसी प्रॉब्लम है, परेशानी है कि दूसरों को ना हो ऐसे.
The right to health care is an integral part of the right to life. And the Indian Constitution, unlike the Western constitutions, actually integrate international law and conventions, treaties into national domestic law. So in a sense, the Constitution obliges the state to protect the healthcare rights of all poor people, and particularly women.
During the time her application was in court, Shanti, with no access to family planning and no follow-up, was pregnant again. This time, scarred from the trauma they had faced during Shanti's last pregnancy, the couple turned to a private doctor. Shanti faced complications yet again. The evening before a scheduled ultrasound, she delivered an underweight, premature baby girl at home, her 6th pregnancy. The system failed her completely. She had no medical help. She was weak